It's time for a look at the big business stories of the week, and Joe Lynam is here to take us through them. Hello, Joe.
Good afternoon.
Let's start with BA, shall we? It's had a tough week dealing with the fallout from its systems failure at the weekend, but it doesn't seem to have put investors off, does it?
I think the Latin term for horrible week, Semanus horribilis, would possibly apply here for British Airways. As you say, the shares have not collapsed. The IAG shares, and that's the holding company for British Airways, it also owns Aer Lingus and Iberia. Those shares are up 3% on the week and up 1% today alone. So investors obviously think that there'll be no long-term repercussions from this. We all thought at the start of the week the reputational damage to such a catastrophe in IT terms would play very badly with the shares. That has not been the case.
Let's move on to the FTSE. FTSE 100 has had a pretty big week, record highs earlier today. What's going on?
Another record high today. In fact, it spiked up at the start of the day and then kind of fell back a little bit. What's happening here is kind of related to the currency. Basically, the pound is staying weak, and it's stayed especially weak against the euro. Now, if you're a big FTSE 100 company, you're not just focused on the United Kingdom, you're a global player. And if you're earning in a harder currency than sterling, i.e. euros or dollars, you're bringing back that harder currency when you put your accounts together, which means you're earning more money without having to necessarily sell more. So it's all about big giant companies bringing back profits in harder currencies, and that makes the share price go like that.
So the FTSE's in a strong position, and so is the construction industry.
Yes, amazingly. People thought construction industry had kind of died a death, but it's at a 18-month high now. House building going through a mini boom over the last year or so, but also house building general and commercial industry has also had a very, very good week. So a lot of people are a bit surprised at that. Let's turn to Leif Calaf from Hargreaves Lansdown, who hopefully will join us from Bristol down the line. Leif, are you there?
I am, yeah. Good afternoon, Joe.
Let's start with IAG. Are you surprised that shares have risen in IAG, the parent company in British Airways this week, as opposed to falling?
Yeah, well, there's certainly been a lot of negative headlines around, as you pointed out. And now on the day that they started trading this week, there was a big reaction in the share price, down around 4 or 5%, but it has really recovered its poise. And I think although the big issue is that it's been a PR disaster for BA, and that may have some long-term consequences, particularly because BA, of course, sells a premium brand, and there may be reputational damage to follow. That's actually quite unquantifiable. And if you look at the bottom line, is this IT outage going to stop people travelling on BA if it's a route that they want to travel and if it's a price that they want? And the answer is probably no, it's not. On
to the FTSE and hitting another record today. It did fall back towards the latter half of the day. Yet another record. Is that all about currency positioning and earning money overseas, or is there something else in play here?
Yeah, well, there's quite a lot of things in play. I mean, one of the things is the currency for sure in terms of the movement that we've seen over last year. There's also been a big rise in terms of the prospects for the commodity sector because of the rise in the oil price that we've seen over last year. So all of that helping to keep the FTSE up there. Now, it's quite strange that we haven't seen any sort of wobbles in the market despite what's going on, in terms of the polls closing for the UK election. I think that is largely because of the international focus of the FTSE 100. Actually, the UK election for a lot of those companies is a fairly peripheral issue. And if you look across at what else is available in terms of returns from cash and from bonds, those aren't really returning very much at the moment. So it's not a huge surprise to see people still committing money to the stock market.
Okay, I'm not a big bronze investor, but good to know that there's not much returns when you can invest in shares. The construction industry had a very good couple of months.
Yeah, that's right. So another positive reading from the UK economy. This comes on the back of positive manufacturing data, which we got yesterday, and also positive retail sales data we got recently as well. And that all builds up to a picture of the UK economy actually doing relatively well on the face of it in the second quarter of this year. That's after a bad quarter in the first 3 months of this year. So on Monday we get the all-important services sector data. That accounts for 80% of the economy. So that's going to have a big influence on proceedings.
Leif Calaf there from Hargreaves Lansdown, thank you very much for joining us. Let's see if we can have a very quick look at the markets before we leave, or we can't. All right. Oh, we can. Oh, we can go to markets. There we go. Because they did start the day very, very well. But have a look at the FTSE 100. Just basically finished where it started. Basically, it's at 7,547. Other markets were up as well, but only marginally. The DAX is having a very good day.
And Joe, Just before we let you go, a little bit of breaking news on BA.
Yes, something has broken from the Press Association. Sources of the Press Association say the British Airways cabin crew are to stage a 4-day strike from June 16th in a long-running dispute over pay. Now, I need to stress this is the mixed fleet cabin crew, which are often on short-haul flights to Europe, not necessarily on the long-haul flights. This has been going on for months. It is not directly related to the changing of the IT provider, which the GMB union said was at the heart of the IT catastrophe. This is a strike by the Unite membership over how their workers are paid. They say that their workers in the cabin crews are paid considerably less than people doing the same job in that crew.
Joe, much obliged. Many thanks to you. Thank you.